What is the best part or the best thing about the age that you are now?
Oh my gosh. The best part about being 35 is I feel like I'm actually in my 30s. It didn't feel this way in your 20s because, you're figuring things out. You might be having a little too much fun, but something about being in your mid 30s, it's like I feel like I'm arriving. The closet's getting a little better. The career is kind of taking off, feeling confident in what we're doing. It's a good number.
I like that 35 brings confidence to some people because I'm just like I'm looking at 35 like, all right, now what's gonna happen now? What is gonna happen? I mean, some years have really hit me, and I just want to know what does 35 have in
Listen,
store. So I like that confidence is coming.
that's right. And just keep up with your regular doctor's appointments. Things get a little squeakier.
Oh gosh, I have like a whole stretch routine now, just so that I'm not like, oh, I slept wrong. I
Yes,
sneezed and hurt my
maintain
back.
that.
Oh yes.
Exactly.
Well, thank you all for tuning in to Take Up Space podcast. I am your host, Leah, and this week we are joined by Jamal Miller. We are in our real estate series where we are discussing all things real estate. Jamal is a real estate broker agent slash because in his state there are the title wears many many hats. So Jamal, welcome
Yes.
to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I live in Indianapolis. I was born and raised in Anchorage, Alaska, and I stayed in Indianapolis after going to school about an hour south of Indy. That's Indianapolis. So I kind of spent some time climbing the corporate ladder. It was not working out. As hard as I tried, the shoe was not fitting. And I found myself in real estate. I'm within my first year as an active agent broker in Indy, and it's been a fun ride.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So one of the ways that we met, which I thought was pretty cool, is you posted on one of the previous guests, Carol's page, about how you enjoyed her episode and said that you were in the middle of doing your first transaction.
Yes.
And that's when I was like, oh, I have to have you on the show. I want to hear about it. So, how did it go?
It's going well. So actually it's been I couldn't ask for a better first client because of course the big thing that you hear amongst real estate agents is your sphere, talk to your sphere. What's going on? Have you said hi? Did you send holiday cards? And these are just the people that are maybe on your friends and family list. So this client was actually in my band fraternity at IU, and we were all in marching bands together. So helping her find her first home has been an exciting ride. There's still a little bit of nerves because you don't want to mess it up, and it's very different from the textbooks. So being out active in the field, it's been a lot of learning, but also being able to apply that education and really help them understand and enjoy the process as well. It's been really rewarding.
You know what? I think everybody deserves to have a first like that where you can say, okay, this person knows me, they know my character, they know who I am. So if something
Hmm.
goes awry, I can actually rest on my laurels and say, okay, well, this is not how I normally am. And this situation just happened. And they're a little bit more understanding. There's a little bit of grace there.
That's right. That's right. And we don't want to take advantage of it, of course, but it does make it a little easier to perform. I think there's always a level of stage fright when you're starting something new. And I'm very much one of those people that I feel like I have to get it perfect. I have to do it right the first time. So checking all of the boxes, crossing the T's, dotting the I's. And it was nice to kind of relax a little bit. But the challenging moments that did present themselves, we were able to get through them, and it was a good thing.
Well, that's great. Is your deal, are you closing soon or are you still in the process?
It's still in the process. So actually, what happened? It was actually funny, this transaction, because it's moving very fast to most agents, and this is my first transaction, so I had no point of reference at all. So we had been looking for a house since we started in mid October, just kind of meeting up and talking about what they were looking for. And then after Thanksgiving, there was a couple travel conflicts, and then we hit the ground running. Everything just exploded. We saw close to 20 different houses. We put in 3 offers, and the third one was the charm. And my goodness, just being out in the field beyond our software, right? We have computers and programs that can help us find these homes, but getting out and being able to do it with them and kind of hold their hand. And when I say like when the bad things pop up, it's more like if there's something that worries them about a property, knowing how to answer those questions or working with the other listing agents to kind of figure out without being too offensive to the sellers, hey, what's going on with this piece of the property, or little things like that, because we have to manage so many emotions, including our clients. So it's a fun and tricky dance.
How did you get into real estate? Was this something that you always wanted to do? And you're like, you know what? After I finish marching band, I'm going to go into the real estate industry.
I've had like a wild work experience. So this deal will close in a week from Friday, so a little less than a week. And when I think back to, closing this transaction in about 5 days and how I got into real estate, it really comes back to my experience in the workforce. It's always been customer service. It's always been some level of customer success. And the difference there is customer service is more responsive. If something breaks, you're going to call somebody, they're going to help you fix it, make sure you can get access, whatever it is. And customer success is the customers already have the product. We're just making sure it's working for them, it's tailored to exactly their needs. So this has been my entire experience from my first gig at a bowling alley, behind the desk, spraying shoes and taking payment for games, through, working at I'd say national and international car auction company who will remain unnamed because it wasn't the best experience, but I learned a lot, putting in 5 years there, being a supervisor, trying to break into the manager realm, being one of the only Black people in the office, barriers that I couldn't explain, or barriers I got tired of trying to explain. It kind of pushed me into the real estate corner because the interest was always there. It was just never anything I really moved forward on. I am a serial overcommitter. So whether it's the Drag Race podcast that just retired or my blog that's been retired for some years now, for a year now, excuse me, had it for years. But there's always too much on my plate and I'm just used to doing it, doing it, and doing it. So real estate never really had a chance to kind of flourish. And then finally hitting a wall in the corporate world where I just couldn't get ahead, applying within the company up to 8 positions, still can't go anywhere, can't get an interview anywhere, but I'm doing a great job. There's never any negative feedback, but I came to terms with they liked me where I was. There was never ever really any control when it came to client scenarios and situations. There wasn't really any service aspect for me anymore because it started to feel like we were delivering excuses. So with real estate, I can kind of use my imagination and creativity a bit more, helping people find their first homes or the next chapter of their life, that next piece of that next chapter. And I really have more control over the customer experience because it really comes down to knowledge. What you don't know is what you should have known, or what you probably already should know in real estate. So there's no chance to say, oh, my bad, totally missed that. It comes down to like the legality of it all. We are not allowed to say that. So I really like that. It's not about the pressure that's there to perform and do well. It's about, this is all under my control. I can give them as good of an experience or as bad of an experience as I'm willing to present that day. And kind of working myself out of corporate and into the real estate world, I can take all of that experience and really take care of my people.
I like that you're focusing more on the accountability as opposed to the pressure, because a lot of people are just like, ah, it's a dog eat dog world, and you have to deal with not just your clients, but like you said, your sphere. Everybody in your ecosystem is connected to
Yes.
the success of whatever the transaction is. But you're more focused on the accountability of it to make sure that your customer and that your sphere are properly satisfied, so that this well-oiled machine can keep moving.
Right. And going back to how fast is this transaction closing? It was funny to all the other agents. They all kind of clutched their pearls when I told them, "Oh, we're closing at the end of January," because the offer was accepted on January 9th, and then there was a couple of amendments that went back and forth, so officially accepted on the 11th, and we were supposed to close on the 28th of this month. And people were like, "Oh, you mean you're closing at the end of February?" It's like, "No, we're closing this month." And again, I have no point of reference. So people are like, "What do you mean? How are you doing?" Like the flood of questions come. But all of that to say, really making sure like we're taking care of our people, and me taking the knowledge from like my managing broker who's been taking a lot of care of me through this process, and a few veteran agents that do really well that I bounce questions off of. And I've had some good coaches, and hey, we were able to do it in record time. I can't say that I'll ever have a closing this fast again, but we will see.
That that is amazing. I mean, even though you don't really have a point of reference, knowing that you're getting this much attention from veteran real estate agents and brokers in the vicinity, like you must be doing something different. That they're like, hey, what's happening over there?
Oh
You know,
yeah, they're
what do you
like,
have
"How
going
is this
on?
happening? I know how to talk to people."
So, what was the first thing that you did when you were like, look, I want to, this is getting tired of the whole runaround of corporate. They want to keep me where I am without advancing me or growing me. I do like that you absolutely rest on the transferable skills that you've grown in your um, long career list of jobs
Oh
that you
yeah.
had previously. But what is the first thing that you did when you were like, look, I want to be in real estate? Did you do a bunch of research and then decide pick one, or did you just throw darts at a board and say, okay, I think I'll go with this one? Was there a mentor that you reached out to? How did you step into the field when you realized that's what you wanted to do?
So for me, it's always I've always been a very regimented person when it comes to these kind of transitions. So I knew I couldn't just up and leave. Like a lot of people will go into real estate, and they'll go through school and support themselves with their jobs, and then they just cold turkey their agent full time. So I knew for me it was going to be more of a slow roll. I'd made up in my mind, you know what? I've given this place so many chances. I'm going to sign up for the class. And I just did a Google, like Indiana real estate school, and there are a few places that popped up. Being a review head, I picked the ones with the best reviews and just kind of read through a handful and ended up with the program. And as far as like finding a brokerage, once you sign up for school, they kind of have a way of getting your contact information.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, that aside, that's a whole other conversation. I got in touch with a recruiter on LinkedIn, which I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. I actually use it. I try to use it as much as I can. You can tell when I'm happy at a job because I'm not really like on LinkedIn, but there's a lot of good resources when you're not looking for jobs. But I like this brokerage that I kind of decided to work with because they have a lot of support for newer agents, especially like marketing, promoting your listings, for example. A lot of those kind of responsibilities will come out of your pocket
Mm-hmm.
as a broker. So they take on a lot of those costs, and there's going to be like brokerage fees anywhere you go. But coming from the corporate world, I was in a position to kind of weigh what would be best for me and what wouldn't be, and I just went for it. I was doing an online class, no in person. This was pre-COVID, and that was tough. I wasn't the student I used to be, trying to find time to study after taking customer service calls all day and working in front of a computer all
Ooh.
day. Oh my gosh, it took me a lot longer to get through school than I planned, but hey, we made it.
Yes, you made it. Did you jump right in with mentorship? I know you mentioned mentors, and your senior veteran coaches that are assisting you, or giving you advice, and you are able to reach out. When did the mentorship part come in?
It really started for me when I got my license in March of 2021. I'd been in the office, which is like 5 minutes down the road. It's nice. Um, to say hi and let them know like I was interested in doing this. Went to a couple meetings, but once you have the license in hand and that pre-licensing education's done, you have more time to kind of pop into the office and start really checking in with people who are active. You might be able to shadow some people at their open houses or their listing
Mm,
presentations. So for me, it really started with going to the weekly meetings just to kind of have my face out there. We're all vaccinated, our office. So that
mm,
was a little, that helped with the nerves a little bit with all the COVID going on.
mm,
And we do Zoom meetings too, but little by little I just kind of started to connect with people I saw doing the best. And I say the best not based on numbers. It just seems like they have really good connections. It
mm.
doesn't seem like they're stressed out. Like it seems like they like what they're doing. And that kind of energy I'm always attracted to. And I know how to say hi and ask people how their day is going. And my dad used to always say, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So if I have a question,
True.
I just ask. And I latched on to them. Now they can't get rid of me.
As what is the representation like? Are you the only one of you in the office, or do you find that there's more diversity now that you are licensed?
I'm seeing that there's more diversity amongst, I guess, real estate agents in Indy. I haven't got to travel outside of the city very much yet, but my office, we're in kind of a more culturally diverse part of town,
Oh, nice.
Broad Ripple, Indianapolis. So very eclectic people, the artsy types, all kinds of delicious food, trails, places like that around here. I would say that there's definitely a sprinkling of us. You know, we're not running the office by any means, but it doesn't feel like a space where, and this is just because I'm new. This is my first year in this brokerage.
Hmm.
COVID's going on. There's not a lot of people popping in and out of the office, minus like the same 5 or 6 people I might see.
Hmm.
But with that being said, there has been a few opportunities to kind of branch out within our office and go to events outside of the office. And, you know, there's a good amount of us out there. And I've been networking and talking about the various programs within our brokerage and what's been working for them and what's not, what their experience has been like, of course. And you can imagine the stories, but it's good that there is a good solid number of us. There's 26 agents in my office. There's at least 6 to 8, if not more, like 10 to 12 of us, I would say.
Oh, nice.
And there's
Okay.
35 offices in Indiana of my brokerage.
Oh, so when you all come together on like a town hall, you get to see more people, obviously. If it's
Hmm.
35 offices around Indiana. That's really cool.
Yeah, there'll be like regional meetings or our big sales rallies, but like our weekly meeting is just our office unless
Hmm.
our managing brokers decide they want to combine a meeting that week.
Okay. So as you are growing in your role, because you've been doing this for a little less than a year, and I mean you were licensed, you said March 2021,
Yep,
and you're closing your deal less than a year later. That must feel amazing. and,
it does. It does.
and very reaffirming. Like as it like this, I think this was a good decision.
Oh yeah, another piece of real estate is that I like and I'm attracted to is, you know, it's really what you make it. There's a lot of people out here that are like, you have to sell, sell, sell. You need to be selling all the time, or you're worthless to this office. Like that
Mm,
exists out there. But I mean, once you have your license, as long as you're paying your broker dues and keeping up with your continuing education, you could make it work however you want it to. So some people might be like, oh my gosh, it's almost been a year and you're just now closing your deal. It's like, hey, there was a lot of moving parts going on. I got out of that hell job. But, not being ready to just fully jump in as an agent full time. I still work full time during the day at a publishing company. And luckily, both gigs are flexible enough that I can do both. So, again, a slow roll transition. I know what my path looks like. We're thinking long term down the road. Eventually, I will be real estate full time. But right now, I mean, working 40 hours and then doing the podcast for Drag Race that retired, that was a lot of extra time. Now I'm coming into a place where I can really focus on the business and grow it and
Hmm.
still perform well enough at my regular gig. But hopefully, sooner rather than later, we'll be real estate full time.
Look, I am putting all the good stuff out there for you. Hopefully, you be able to do it. That's, I mean, not even being full time, and you're closing your first deal in less than a year. There are so many
Hmm.
people who I have encountered who are 2, 3, 4 years in and still haven't closed, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's not just personality.
Uh
It's
huh. I hear
but
you.
I mean, but I know that especially when you're starting off in a field that you really considered or you thought highly of and something that you could be successful in, it can be it can hurt a little bit to and feel a little bit of rejection if you don't close that sale or make the contacts that you think you're
Yeah.
supposed to have, or even hit the milestones that
Hmm.
the people in the mindset of always be selling or always be closing, that whole idea or that whole mindset of grind, grind, grind until sleep when you're dead or whatever, that
Hmm.
can be very damaging, especially in this culture where
Yes.
everybody is always on 24/7.
All the
But if
time.
you can find a place where, and I like that you have the value set that you use of who
Hmm.
has the best work life balance, who
Right.
who can who has connections and can do their job very well, but also know when to pull it back.
That's right. And also being able to notice like what's working for you and what's not. Like
Exactly.
you have to be able to recognize those things to make those tougher decisions because I could easily just if there's something in front of me, I'm just going to do it. But like you're saying, that's not always the healthiest thing to do. So
Right.
being able to work both, I'm not in a rush to leave this job because I mean, I've been there 3 years and you know how it is, you leave a toxic environment and you spend all your time trying to figure out where the crazies are
Yeah.
and none of them have showed themselves. So I'm like, okay, I can balance the two for now. So
Right. Okay. Are we still in the honeymoon phase, or they're hiding in the wings? What's happening
that's
here?
right.
Yes, I absolutely can understand that. But
Well, in that experience too, it just kind of the corporate experience, it really has people like myself who spend time trying to fit into like what those corporate boxes look like. We can take all those practices and build our own things and make our companies and LLCs as they're being born work for us exactly how they need to. And that's what I'm trying to do with the whole Jamal the Broker brand.
so let's talk about that a bit, because professionalism has been the topic of conversation forever and a day. We see how women, and I know some men as well, are suing companies and corporations because they didn't get the job because they're wearing locks, or the way their hair is, or the way they dress, or the way they present. And a lot of people are being told that they're unprofessional
Hmm.
in their communication or whatever it is, without them getting the opportunity to learn it. Obviously, if they have the role, they did something right in the interview.
Right,
I'm
right.
I would hope that you're not just passing out jobs, but
Right.
but once you're in that role, what that professionalism looks like in corporate America, because it feels very Eurocentric, because it is, but also when we
Hmm.
decide to leave and start our own thing, it's it can be it can be a very arduous task of, what is my current identity? How do I present that?
Oh
What
yeah.
is my brand going to be outside of corporate America, Leah, or
Hmm.
outside of what everyone else thinks that I should be? What should this brand be? So how did you figure out what your identity is in that, in learning how to advocate for yourself in that space?
I had to. It all goes back to just like the work journey for me, and even looking back to my childhood, I was always the kid who had to be buttoned up. Me and dirt don't get along. It's just I don't like it. If we can avoid it, let's avoid it.
But you gotta run through the dirt and hop the fences. You gotta climb trees. Like there's different things to do as a kid. What do you mean?
You know, I was busy inside with the books and my instruments. But I had to figure out my brand because I didn't want to. My dad kind of instilled in all of us kids. I'm the oldest of three. You have to be different. Like
Hmm.
you can't just go out and be like everybody else. When we wanted earrings, I was like 13 years old. He made us write a paper about why we wanted one. And he was like, make sure you don't say it's because it's what your friends want. So that being ingrained in me from a very young age, whether it was my playing instruments, which got me to college from Alaska to Indiana, or how I want to stand out in real estate, I think about that. A good funny story actually is Indiana summer. It's pretty hot. It's humid. It's gross. I was doing an open house, and I don't think they were talking about me at the meeting, but I was wearing shorts at an open house. I looked real nice, y'all. Hear me out. Crispy shorts, button up shirt, some nice shoes, had everything laid out, very professional. But in our weekly meeting, they were kind of talking trash about an agent who wore shorts to an open house. And I just did a quick little run around the table. I was like, okay, I didn't see any of you at my open house this weekend. And
Hmm.
of course, discussion starts because we're a mixed office. There's people in their 20s, there's people, in quote unquote retirement age, but they are still active, very active in the business, and they see what's going on in real estate culture and elsewhere.
Hmm.
And they were like, well, it's just not professional and it's this and that. And I was trying not to laugh, and all I could say was, well, I don't wear my shorts like you all wear your shorts. And of course I'm the only queer black person at the table. I'm like, I know I'm pretty. So what you get with me is usually a crispy pair of jeans, Converse or boots, Jimi Hendrix tee, some kind of fun graphic tee, and a blazer and a pocket square. I like to dress up enough to make it show clearly that I'm a professional, but I'm also somebody with a personality who likes to have
Hmm.
fun. My ears are gauged. My rule with my ears is it has to look good in a suit. So I can wear my hollowed out, shiny gauges and paint my fingernails because it all matches my look. And I know, like, as things develop, like getting my signs made outside of my brokerage signage, my headshots outside of my brokerage headshots, it's going to be very like, this is Jamal the Broker vibe. We're down home, but we're polished. We can get dirty if we need to. We'd prefer not to, but just let me know so I know what shoes to wear. If we have to jump the fence to get into the house with permission, we can do that. But I like to serve a look and let people know that they can be comfortable and have fun, very relatable. I don't have kids. I'm very good with kids. I am a dog person. I can talk to anybody if they give me 2 minutes.
See, and I think that is really based in knowing who you are, and knowing honestly, truly, authentically what you want. Because
Yes.
it's a very brave thing to be able to stand up and say, this is who I am.
Oh yeah.
Like unashamed, unequivocal, like period. This is who I am, and the end.
Oh yeah. And
Because
it took a while to get there.
yeah, there's so many things out there that's telling us that, we have to fit into this box, or that we have to do things or look this way. Like, yes,
Hmm.
I do understand dress for the job you want, but as markets change, as people grow, people are replaced and moved around. And
That's
I
right.
mean, we see this whole thing. One of the greatest things that I think that came out of the pandemic is people's um, patience for nonsense has diminished. They're just like, I'm not sticking with a dead end job, or I'm not
Yeah,
sticking in this relationship that's not serving me. I'm not going to bend to other people because it's
that's
not
right.
serving me. And I like all the shiny new backbones that's being grown in this pandemic.
It's great. It's a fabulous thing, and
Yes,
like change is scary. So, I always say all
yes,
the
it can
old
be.
heads running corporate, whether it's the older heads running corporate or you're one of the newer people on the ground, kind of at the bottom of the ladder, working your way up. You're absolutely right. This pandemic has shown us that we can go out with our resources, the internet, our cell phones, and make make things happen. So it's an exciting and it's a scary thing, but I like to try to be a sponge. Like, I'm not in a rush to leave my current corporate gig because I'm lucky enough to have a place where I can do both, and they respect my time, they treat me like a human, and I don't take that for granted because I know what the hustle's like, and all I can say is, keep at it, because if you care about it enough and you want it to happen, it will. It might take you a little longer, but hey, that's the game. Even the people that get lucky right off the bat, they hit that plateau, and it's all about how you respond. It's just a matter of when. So
Hmm.
just keep dusting yourself off and keep looking forward. I had to learn how to keep myself out of a kind of defeated kind of space, like, oh, they don't want me. What am I doing here? But that all clicked when I decided, you know what? I'm just going to do things for myself
Hmm.
first, and then everyone else around me will benefit because they'll see that it's coming from a caring place.
I love that level of advocacy because we sometimes what can happen, and a lot of my listeners, we talk about this all the time on the show, is that mentality of giving so much of yourself that you're pouring from an empty cup. And
Hmm.
if you don't refill your cup or have people in your circle who are helping you to refill your cup, then that's when you get stuck in, like you said, that defeatist mindset. You get down and depressed, and you don't know how to handle when you hit
Right.
that plateau, when you hit that wall, when you are in that stuck place of, okay, they don't want me here. I can't go there. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. And it's like fighting that survival switch too, because your mind is just running the way it is because, hey, we have to make sure there's snacks on the table and that the lights can stay on, whatever it is. But
Hmm.
it's easier said than done. It gets easier every time you take a moment for yourself and just really kind of keep your goals and your focus in mind. Like,
Right.
you might not have what you need right now, but just keep at it. It's coming. Like, there's been plenty of days where I just was ready to put my head through the wall. Believe me, I know we've all been there.
Ah,
So
yes.
stay away from that feeling if you can.
After hearing how much you advocate for yourself, especially in this place and in your life, it sounds like you're really doing your best to take care of yourself, whether that has come with age, experience, both. I think it's an awesome thing. In this new space that you're creating, and especially with the brand of Jamal the Broker, how are you advocating for or anticipating advocating for the clients or the people that you encounter in your ecosystem?
So real estate's given me a good way back into old practices, like volunteering.
Mm,
So in Kappa Kappa Psi, the fraternity I was part of in college at IU, we did more music focused volunteering activities for our bands and local organizations in the town. My aunt, growing up throughout, junior high and high school, she's always had us giving back to the homeless, like just helping out in any way that we can. So
yeah.
for me, being the social butterfly that I am, I like to just put myself out there. I'm not an in your face kind of salesperson. So I advocate by showing up to volunteer opportunities, whether it's for the queer community, the Boys and Girls Club, which is a big part of my life growing up back in
Hmm.
Alaska. So I try to help out here in Indianapolis when I can. And food banks is next on my list. I'd really like to get involved with food banks. And this is so people can actually see me being part of the things that I'm talking about. It's very easy to just write a check or buy a table at Pride and
Right.
pass out all of my real estate merch. But I would rather people see how I really take community and I put it into the work we're doing, because
Mm,
finding people homes or helping someone sell their home, it really goes beyond that if you let it. It's more than just a transaction. So trying to connect people that way through my actions is really putting that advocacy out there, and not only for myself but people who look like me, other queer people, and also providing a safe space for people to ask questions. Hey, my realtor's gay. He's been teaching me all kinds of things, not even talking about, queer and straight things, but people just seeing others exist, quote unquote, normally or just out there. It
yeah,
can open doors. It's very scary out there. It's very scary,
it
but
is.
you got to have
Yes,
faith just a little bit.
I would hope so. 'Cause that's the only way we make it through is
That's right.
having faith. But it's great that what I'm hearing in a lot of your conversation is humanizing your role so that it's not transactional, but it's a human experience. It's a
Hmm.
service that you're providing, but you also want to make sure that you are a part of the fabric that you're building.
Yes, yes, exactly that. If a lot of people around here, they're starting to recognize me because I put my dogs on my real estate merch and postcards that I send out. and that's been fun because we're dog people. So you never know what can come of a conversation about dog grooming. It might lead to a listing. You just never know.
Exactly. That you know what? That is true. Because once we start finding things that we have things that we have in common, our similarities, then we can kind of dispel the myth of just like the constant bickering and the
Yeah.
back and forth and the combative talk. We can actually
Hmm.
work together and actually build solid communities regardless
Right.
of your station in life. Everybody has something they can do, something that they can
That's right.
offer.
Hmm.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
somebody's looking for the service that you have. I mean, obviously, with real estate the way it is, there's people who are looking for homes and they can't. I don't know what it is currently, but previously doing the real estate series, it was like they only had 30 days of inventory at a time.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Yep.
it's just like, yeah, real estate is booming right now, and it can stay like that for a couple of years. You don't know how long it's going to be a seller's market, but getting in and making sure that you have your mentors, making sure that you have people in place that are going to help uplift you and
Yes.
hopefully correct you when you're
Oh
when you're
yeah.
getting off the beaten path. You want to be
Oh
coached,
yeah.
to
That's
get back
right.
on. It's like, was that the best way to have that conversation? Is this the best way to contact this person? Is this the best time to do this thing? And
Oh
you
man,
know,
that's so funny. It's so true though too. And again, I think corporate for a lot of that. I haven't had to have any spicier conversations with people, but thankfully I know how to handle those scenarios when they arise.
yes, because I think that's one thing that's unfortunate in when I talk with when I'm dealing with people, whether they are business owners, podcasters, they work in corporate America, or what have you.
Hmm.
Learning how to take criticism is a skill.
Yes. Yes, it is.
I don't know who didn't teach them this. And it's and people are, and I know there are some listeners who are probably saying, "Oh, that's the millennials, that's the Gen Z, the Gen Alpha." No, it's everybody.
It's
People
everybody. Thank you for
people of
saying that.
all different backgrounds do not, they either become defensive,
Oh
or they
yeah.
become accusatory, or they become really offensive, just like, well, let me
In a
tell you about
flash.
yourself. And it's like, I was just saying that next time you email, make sure that you add this information.
Right.
That's
This is
all
not
I
a
said.
personal attack. This is
I did not tell you you were a terrible person. I don't know what your parents did to you when you were younger. I am not your ex girlfriend. I did not say anything like, I need you to get it
right.
together.
Whatever happened to you on the way out of your home this morning, I am so sorry about it.
Right. I'm not that person. I'm not that person. Please understand. We are only talking about this. You connected it to four other things I have nothing to do with.
Thank you. Thank you. And then your face is just hurting because you're just smiling through, like, okay, are they done? Oh, they're
Right.
still going. All right.
Oh, I've been in meetings where I'm like, okay, take a breath for a second. I don't know who you're talking to right now, but it's not me. You're upset, but
right.
it's not because of this. And I understand that, so I'm not taking offense to it,
That's right. Lay it out.
but I just need you to understand that I recognize
hmm
this isn't about this. And they're just like, "Oh my gosh, you're right. That
Yep.
you know what? You're right."
Emotional intelligence, it's very real. I'm glad it's on the up and up for the most part. Lots of work to do still, but a little bit of that goes a long way, especially communicating.
Yes, and may I ask, in your role, in your full-time job, do you feel that, and now we're supposed to be returning back to office. I think most of the, if they're not in office already, it should be like after President's Day or something like that, when people are supposed to
hmm
be going back into the office. Has there been an increase, it not just because I know there's more conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion,
Oh,
but
yeah.
is there an increase in the focus of developing leaders to be more emotionally intelligent and having that kind of awareness in conversations?
Oh, yeah. I'm luckily at my company, we work directly with universities and schools all over. So we're pretty much going with what the university's practice are as far as like COVID, and we try to be as open to all groups as we can be. Now, I can say, just being a Black person in the professional world since I was, well, I've been working since I was 16. We'll say the working world since I was 16 to now. It was a fine company coming in, but after like Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, there is a lot of diversity and inclusion training. I do notice that
Yes.
there's a lot of programs in play that is kind of not necessarily grooming like women and queer people, other peoples of color for specific roles, but just giving people opportunities to kind of explore other parts of the business. Because we're a
Mm-hmm.
publishing company, but the part of the company I work with, it's our learning management software. So schools use our software to give their courses and their exams.
Mm-hmm.
So, something I look for with this kind of behavior is we can all talk and say what we're going to do. And right after George Floyd happened and all these trainings started to bloom out of nowhere, my eyebrows are just stuck on the ceiling because we're fully remote. No one can see my camera. My eyebrows are just like, okay, y'all, getting Snoop Dogg for a cameo, like all kinds of stuff. But now, going into year 3 of the pandemic, I see some of these things are still active, like the program. Some people have come, some have gone,
Mm-hmm.
but as long as I see places trying, it makes me feel good. But I don't I don't hesitate to remind them, we have to make sure we're practicing what we're preaching. We can't just
Yes.
have all of these trainings and then you've got Miss Molly Sue over here coming at me sideways and she doesn't understand why I'm taking it a certain way.
Right.
So I'm going to call you out on that because I know that you're paying these authors of color to come and share their experience and their voice. And you've got people over here that are showing me that they don't care. So again, it took me a long time to get this way, but I can say these things very nicely and polished. And that freaks them out even more because it's like very HR safe and they don't know how to respond to it.
They're like, okay, but wait, are you saying that I'm being insensitive? You're calling me racist? I didn't say that. What did I say? I said your insensitivity towards my situation is making me uncomfortable.
Right. So it's like I haven't had any of those experiences in real estate yet, but even just working with other agents,
Hmm.
you see where these opportunities might arise, but everything's a learning moment, not everything's an attack. So,
Yes,
we'll see.
we need to put that on a shirt. Not everything is an attack.
That's right.
You
Some
don't
people
need
just
to.
don't know that they're assholes.
You can absolutely, like, people walk around, waiting for trigger warnings and things like that, and it's like, listen, though, if you need a trigger warning for every conversation, you need therapy, and I wholeheartedly agree. Therapy and Jesus will change your life. You really, you can't walk around waiting to be triggered off of everything.
You can't. You can't. You really can't. And being in real estate, maybe it's because I'm new, but it's really given me an opportunity to kind of hit that refresh button and just really on a daily basis remind myself like this business can be what I want. I appreciate all the training and experience and notes I'm receiving from people, but I can't take away from my special sauce. It's gonna be what makes it's gonna be what puts me ahead of everyone else and makes me
Yeah.
stand out. So keep that in mind, people. You don't have to change. You're just taking the parts that work for you and enhancing it.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for this conversation. This has been great. I really appreciate it. This
Sure.
is this is your time to plug any and everything you've got going on, where people can find you, where people can follow you, not in real life or like on social media. I don't give people your addresses to your job, and they'll be like, "Hey, Jamal said I can come visit. No, I just want to have lunch."
Be careful. I'll sick my two rat terriers on you if you roll up on me in person. You can find me online at Jamal the Broker on Twitter and Instagram mostly. I am on Facebook, Jamal the Broker as well. The only project I really have going is a podcast that's called Roots and the City, like Sex and the City, but Roots and the City, because a lot of my marketing is based on creating roots. We're finding homes, we're selling homes and finding new ones. So I like to kind of frame the whole real estate adventure around creating your roots and what makes those roots special to you. So this podcast comes out every Friday. It's 10 to 15 minutes, super short and sweet. There's plenty of real estate shows out there that can get in the weeds, super in the weeds. Most of those shows are for other agents or people in the industry. This is very quick hit discussion, light touch of the surface. We have other episodes that we'll do in the future, like on redlining, financing, where I'm going to get some guests so we can really give those topics the attention they need. But hey, somebody listened to my sewer scope episode and they got a sewer scope on their house where we found damage. So hey, the podcast is already proving useful. I share real things that happened to me, light education. We just want everyone to be comfortable in finding what community means to them and hopefully a new home.
I love it. I
Yeah, it's been
absolutely
a really
love
fun
it.
one.
I want everybody to go ahead and check out Jamal the Broker, Roots in the City. Make sure that you follow him on all his social media. Really support. We love when people are successful. We love it. We love it. We love it. So make sure you give him all the love and all the support that you can, and share his podcast with a friend. Even if you're not in Indiana, there are absolutely tips and tricks and knowledge
Oh
that you
yeah,
probably don't know that applies across the board. But thank you so
absolutely.
much to Jamal for being on the show. Please make sure to follow us at Take a Space Pod. That's Take a Space POD on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then also find us on YouTube. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We're at like
Ooh,
130 or something like that. So I know we can do it this year. So we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it.
it's gonna
Uh,
get there.
yes, I am already seeing 1,000 followers. is. But I definitely appreciate everyone for tuning in. Again, thank you to Jamal. This has been a great conversation. I love having candid conversations about how people are advocating in their lives, and in real estate in this series is going to be great. So make sure you all tune in, share it with a friend, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.